Good morning, friends. Greetings from a crisp autumnal morning. We have the sunrise light lighting up this beautiful oak tree beside me. And the needles of the pine just have been struck for these past 9 months of the difference that happens when we step outside. Talking to a student yesterday who lives in Wisconsin. I think it was, 8 degrees there or 12 degrees when we were talking yesterday. And just how chilly that is, and how it takes a lot of courage to go and sit outside or to walk outside. And what you're saying, even taking 10 minutes to go outside, it changes our nervous system. Stepping into something greater than ourselves, stepping into a world that's not flustered by today's news. I guess the news is the sun is rising, the sky is blue, there's clouds in the sky, the birds are flittering around, the day is waking up, and the light is dawning, and the air is moist. That's the daily news from the oak tree. And there's coyotes brushing its roots, and the psyllium working underground. It's a very different pace and quality and sense of order. So I think in our human-centered, news-centered, digitally oriented lives, it's just so important that we step outside of that, because all of that partly designed to whip us up into a frenzy, into hooking into staying connected to that frenetic pace and busyness, and then that becomes a habit, becomes a compulsion, becomes familiar, becomes part of our identity. We wake up, we listen to the news, and we get flustered, and that's what we do every morning, as if somehow that will make us happy. So good to listen to the news of the sunlight and the rain, or the snow, or the wind, or the chill, or the storm, or whatever it is. I can see many of you sitting with, being touched by sunlight. It's part of the news of the morning. So I wanted to recite a poem. Probably haven't recited it for a long time. Here by Wendell Berry. Some of you are quite familiar with this poem when Piece of Wild Things, I think it's called. And he says, when despair grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, or may become, I go outside and lie down where the wood drake rests his quiet beauty on the water and where the great heron feeds. And I come into the presence of wild things who do not tax their life with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of day-blind stars waiting with their light. And for time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. So how often do we wake in the night in fear of what our lives or our children's lives or our families and friends' lives may become? And we go outside into the presence of wild things, trees, grasses, animals, birds, clouds, sky, mountains. We come into the presence of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief, with the fear and the worry and the catastrophe of imagining our disastrous future. But we come into the presence of things that do not tax their lives, not bound by future thinking. Oriented to what's here. The tree is oriented to the sunlight that's now touching its boughs, its limbs, its pine tree, its needles. So let's sit together, whether you're indoors or outdoors. We can attune to the presence of wild things. For time, as he says, we come into the grace of the world and are free. Grace of the world that's not troubled by time, by an imagined future that we fear, but that's resting here for the most part, most of the time. The present moment is a much more calming place to be than where our mind might take us. So let's sit oriented to whatever's revealing itself in this moment. So finding your seat. As you take your seat, feeling the presence, the present moment, attunement to bodily experience, and the body is in the present, the senses are in the present. So asking of yourself, what allows you to abide here? Sensing the body and its connection with the earth under you, air around you. Can there be a simple pleasure or contentment with simply resting awareness in this physical experience of sitting in stillness like a mountain, grounded, connected, feeling its vitality, its energy, its pulsing, vibratory, tingling effervescence. And within that stillness, the movement, the bellows of the lungs, the tides of waves. And that simple breath can at times be reassuring, familiarity, a life-giving inhale of oxygen, connecting us with trees and plants. As we sit, coming into the presence of wild things, which may be the wildness of our own physical landscape. This rhythm of breath, bodily life breathing itself, aware of the senses, sensing ourselves, aware of the sounds, appearing and disappearing, aware of this fragrance, fleeting, aware of touch, taste, aware of color and light. Seeing happens. Aware of the movements of heart. Aware of the movements of the mind, of thought, image. can be known in the present, but the following of such thoughts can easily lead us into a mental realm far removed from this physical, wild moment. And so part of practice is to unhook and release the being embroiled in our thinking mind and staying closer to our physical, sensory life. You may notice, you may incline the attention to notice if there is any calm, peace, steadiness, quiet, stillness, that the noticing and the attunement to those qualities can allow them to actually come forth and flourish more. The groundedness of the earth, the stillness of morning, the peace of the air. Noticing when you shift attention from this vital, sensory, present, and drift from here into the mind, into imagined future or past scenarios, and reorienting, reestablishing present moment awareness here, this body, these senses. awake and attuned to simply what's here, moment by moment. Coming into the presence of this moment, of wild things, of inner landscape, of this soundscape, and the movement of light and air and breath, sensation, sound. Abiding in awareness, attuned to the present moment. In the last couple of minutes of the meditation, again attuning to the peace of wild things, to the tranquility of nature, to the non-disturbed quality of body or the senses. Notice what allows your attention and being to incline towards peace, towards ease, towards letting go, which often includes letting go of thoughts that pull us from the peace of the present moment, and the peace of our being. So as we end our practice, noticing the influence of your practice, whether it's possible to incline towards what's here, to the present, to the peace of wild things. So if you're sitting indoors, see if it's possible to at some point walk outside, to tune to the peace of wild things, and notice what takes you away from that simple ease, peace. So I'm noticing after 2.5 months, the construction crews have finally moved on to another project from the road outside my house. I'm very happy that I can feel a little more the peace of the morning because it's less diggers and trucks and caterpillars and whatever. So it does help when we can be in supportive conditions, outside, quiet, We can't always have those supportive conditions because of weather or family or noise. So we do what we can with what we have. But I am noticing that the impact when the conditions are supportive, like quiet, stillness, it supports the stillness, ease of mind. But we could be in the perfect place and our mind can still create torment. So it's not so much about the external conditions, but really how we relate to what's here. All right, friends, so nice sitting with you. Be back tomorrow. And have a beautiful day. I included the donation link in the chat box for those of you who wish to support teachings, and donations are kindly offered, received through my website, markcoleman.org. Otherwise, have a blessed day. Take care.